Rich Dad, Poor Dad, as narrated by Robert Kiyosaki. Chapter 1. I had two fathers, a rich one and a poor one. One was highly educated and intelligent. He had a PhD and completed 4 years of undergraduate work in less than 2 years. He then went on to Stanford University, the University of Chicago, and Northwestern University to do his advanced studies, all on full financial scholarships. The other father never finished the 8th grade. Both men were successful in their careers, working hard all their lives. Both earned substantial incomes, yet one struggled financially all his life. The other would become one of the richest men in Hawaii. One died leaving tens of millions of dollars to his family, charities, and his church. The other left bills to be paid. Both men were strong, charismatic, and influential. Both men offered me advice, but they did not advise the same things. Both men believed strongly in education, but did not recommend the same course of study. If I had only one dad, I would have had to accept or reject his advice. Having two dads advising me offered me the choice of contrasting points of view, one of a rich man and one of a poor man. Instead of simply accepting or rejecting one or the other, I found myself thinking more, comparing and then choosing for myself. The problem was, the rich man was not rich yet, and the poor man not yet poor. Both were just starting out on their careers, and both were struggling with money and families. But they had very different points of view about the subject of money. For example, one dad would say, the love of money is the root of all evil. The other, the lack of money is the root of all evil. As a young boy, having two strong fathers, both influenced me, was difficult. I wanted to be a good son and listen, but the two fathers did not say the same things. The contrast in their points of view, particularly where money was concerned, was so extreme that I grew curious and intrigued. I began to start thinking for long periods of time about what each was saying. Much of my private time was spent reflecting, asking myself questions such as, why does he say that? And then asking the same question of the other dad's statement. It would have been much easier to simply say, yeah, he's right, I agree with that, or to simply reject the point of view by saying, the old man doesn't know what he's talking about. Instead, having two dads whom I loved forced me to think and ultimately choose a way of thinking for myself. As a process, choosing for myself turned out to be much more valuable in the long run, rather than simply accepting or rejecting a single point of view. And welcome back. Let's begin with the amazing Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. So let's begin with the first paragraph. Educated and intelligent. That's okay. The next word is undergraduate. And this is important for word stress undergraduate. Make sure you get the word stress in the right place. Undergraduate, of course, means your bachelor's degree. If you're a master's or PhD, you're a postgraduate. 8th grade. The other father never finished the 8th grade. Now, this little word 8th is extremely difficult because it has in the spelling 1, 2, 3, 4 consonants without any vowels in between them. So sometimes with a word with spelling as crazy as this, it's better to not look at the spelling and actually just listen to the word, and that might help you. But the word is eighth. Successful in their careers. Successful we've had in other podcasts, but be careful because it's a very, very high frequency word. Successful. And clearly the stress is on the second syllable there. I want to bring your attention to careers. Careers. Now, when you have a double E at the end of an English word, it is almost always where the stress is. Careers. And you can really, especially in a meeting or online, you can really make that quite a strong stress sound, and that will bring life and kind of the English music will come into your language if you do so. Substantial, still on the same line, the first line of the second paragraph. Substantial here is, well, it means a lot. Both earned, this is to earn is the money that you make through employment or your efforts, and substantial is a lot. So if you earn substantial incomes, you make a lot of money, in other words. That's always a good thing, isn't it? Yet one struggled financially all his life. To struggle is another word to fight. So you can have one fought financially all his life, or one struggled financially all of his life. You could also sometimes I hear grappled as well, which is related. So, to fight, to struggle, to grapple, or to wrestle. These words pretty much mean more or less the same thing, so they're good to know. If we drop down to the third paragraph, both men were strong, charismatic. Well, if we look at the root word is charisma. And charisma is a difficult word to kind of describe, but it means you have a very attractive or appealing personality in some way. So charisma is that a very attractive personality. If you have charisma, we say you are charismatic. Influential, which just follows it, means that you have power. You have the power to influence, to make changes, to affect things. We drop down to one, two, three, four, five, five. Paragraph number five. Want to bring your attention to choosing for myself. Choose, chose, chosen. Now, that's an interesting irregular. So choosing for myself. To choose, yesterday I chose, I have chosen. Let's find a phrasal verb on the paragraph that begins the problem was. If we go to the end of that line, both were just starting out on their careers. Starting out is a very high frequency phrasal verb, which means begin, really. If you begin something, you start out. You can have start out or start out on. In this case, it is on the three-part phrasal verb there. Again, we have struggling, once again. And of course, the love of money is the root of all evil. That's a very famous expression that we are all familiar with. And when his second father says the lack of money is the root of all evil, the word you may not know here is lack, meaning you don't have it. It's missing. Something is missing if you lack it. So not to have enough money is the root of all evil, and this is the kind of wisdom that his second father says. We drop down to the paragraph beginning as a young boy. On the second line, the contrast in their points of view. That's a nice expression. Point of view is kind of a lexical phrase in a way. And it simply means an opinion. If you have a point of view, it is your opinion or your perspective. And this word that follows it, particularly, is quite tricky for many learners. Particularly, the end of the same line, extreme that I grew curious. Curious is a nice word. Comes up a lot in fiction as well, actually. Um, it means that you are interested in something. It's often a positive association, but a curious person is someone who asks a lot of questions. So Robert Kiyosaki, as a boy, grew curious, meaning he began to ask a lot of questions. He became interested in this thing and intrigued, which kind of means more or less the same thing. If we drop down to the larger last paragraph at the bottom of this page, choosing for myself turned out to be, again, turned out is a phrasal verb, which means kind of in the end, the ultimate thing, what happened in the end. If something turns out to be, for instance, you might go for a walk in the daytime. It's a nice day, nice weather, but it turned out to be rainy, meaning eventually it changed to become something else. So it turned out to be much more valuable for Robert Kiyosaki here in the long run. And I think that's it for the first page. I hope you enjoyed it. I certainly did. See you next time. Bye bye.